This is the Oscarthon, a show about one man on an absolutely mental mission to watch every Best Picture Oscar-nominated film ever, plus a few others thrown in along the way. Let's do it.
And here we go.
The winter of 1928 was tough. It was a period plagued by influenza, with many succumbing to the illness. In times like these, it's a good thing we have movies, right? We're still following the 2-year time frame for this ceremony, so we're covering 1928 and 1929, with the ceremony itself taking place in early 1930 in the aftermath of the Great Depression.
I'm going to jump! No! Do a flip!
There were quite a few changes from the previous year. This was the first Academy Awards to be transmitted over radio. Total categories were reduced from 12 to 7, and the winners were not announced in advance. Also, there were no official nominees, but later research unearthed an unofficial list, so we're working off that. But there's one film I simply cannot talk about. The Patriot, a film directed by Ernst Lubitsch about the Russian royal family, just straight up no longer exists. I'd like to review it for you, I really would, but out of 10,000 feet of footage that this film originally had, only 2,500 of it is still around, which is a shame, because it was the last silent film to be nominated for Best Picture before The Artist in 2012. And while we're talking about films that I won't be talking about at length in this video, let's just get this one out of the way. The Hollywood Revue of 1929. This isn't a movie. Essentially what happened here was they gathered as many stars of stage and screen as they could, and gave them segments on stage to do variety acts. There were some good bits, some bad bits, and Jesus Christ! You might have heard the phrase pre-code film before and wondered what that meant. Essentially, before 1934, due to not having to follow many rules for content, filmmakers were making movies with things like nudity, homosexual relationships, interracial relationships, violence, prostitution, abortion, and the idea that people who commit crimes could actually get away with them. Until a group of religious conservatives, who are traditionally offended by literally everything, ensured that films had to adhere to certain moral standards, essentially holding back the film industry and society for decades.
Oh, won't somebody please think of the children?
In Old Arizona is one of the films that took advantage of the freedom they had to explore these themes while they could. Directed by Irving Cummings, it received 5 nominations, winning 1 of them. In fact, no film won more than 1 award this year, an occurrence that has never repeated itself. Thanks to the lack of the code we were talking about earlier, our protagonist is an outlaw by the name of the Cisco Kid, whose first real action in the film is robbing a stagecoach and almost shooting the driver. Opposite him is downright goody-goody Sergeant Mickey Dunn, who is tasked with bringing in the Cisco Kid for a reward of $5,000. The two meet literally 19 minutes into the film in a barbershop, but Dunn has no idea that he's talking to the man he's hunting. This whole scene sets the tone for the film. We as the audience are actively rooting for the outlaw, and we are in on the joke that he's making the guy trying to catch him look like a fool. Rounding out the main characters is Tonya Maria, the girlfriend of the Cisco Kid, who is constantly having affairs behind his back because, again, this is a time before we started to pretend these things never happened. Maria and Dunn meet as he searches for the Cisco Kid, and after telling her that he stands to gain $5,000, she immediately falls in love with him. You can't see me right now, but I almost just sprained my fingers because of the strength of the air quotes around falls in love.
I ain't saying she a gold digger.
Okay, I am. So the two of them concoct a scheme to trap CK, because saying the Cisco Kid every time is too long, with Maria writing a letter to Dunn to finalise their plans, which CK finds and replaces with a fake, telling Dunn that CK will be disguised as Maria, while Maria is riding away to safety. You've probably already guessed what's about to happen. Yep, what you weren't expecting was for old CK to be so savage.
Her flirting days are over, and she's ready to settle down.
Next up we have Alibi, another film in which the protagonist is a criminal, except this time we're diving into the world of gangsters. This film really pushes the envelope as our main character, Chick Williams, is a robbing, cop-killing gang leader married to the daughter of a police sergeant. The film centres around a robbery committed by Chick during the intermission of a show he was attending with his wife Joan, with her backing up his alibi that he was with her the whole time at the theatre. Suspecting Chick of the robbery and the killing of an officer, the police plant a mole inside of his gang. That doesn't go so well. Eventually the police corner Chick in his own home, but before they can arrest him, he flicks the lights off and makes his escape. The chase leads up to the roof, where he plans to leap across to the adjacent building, leading to one of the greatest and most hilarious anticlimaxes ever. This whole sequence is gold.
Put Frank the door! Look, the window!
The cinematography in this film is actually pretty good for the time, and there were quite a few shots that I don't remember seeing in any of the films I'd seen before from this era. I also have to give a shout out to Elaine Stern Carrington, who wrote the original stage play that the film was based on, along with literally 12,000 other stories, as she was the woman who invented the radio soap opera. Whenever I watch these films, I always leave the actual Best Picture winner until last, assuming that I'm actually saving the best until last. And in this case, I think that's true. The Broadway Melody was directed by Harry Beaumont and follows the story of the Mahoney sisters, Queenie and Hank. Yep, Hank. The girls arrive in New York, having been brought by Hank's fiancée Eddie to perform with him. Evidently, Eddie and Hank got engaged without meeting each other's families or actually having strong feelings for each other, because Eddie sees Queenie for the first time since he was a child, and boom, he's in love. Come on man, that's your fiancée's sister. He tells them they should audition for Zanfield's Revue, but their routine is sabotaged by a jealous chorus girl. However, Queenie still gets a job and manages to convince Zanfield to give Hank one too. After getting a prominent role in the show thanks to another girl injuring herself, Queenie starts dating a playboy by the name of Jock, upsetting Hank and Eddie. Queenie and Eddie eventually reveal their feelings for each other, but stays with Jock because of Hank. This proves to be a bad choice, as Jock pulls the typical nice guy "I deserve to sleep with you because of everything I've done for you" crap, and tries to force himself on her. Eddie turns up having been told by Hank that he should go after her, gets punched, but also gets the girl. The film concludes with everyone being very awkward with each other because it's a very awkward situation, especially since Hank has now replaced Queenie with the girl who sabotaged them before. I actually really got into this one for some reason. It was the right amount of cheesy and entertaining, and the story was pretty good. In these early years, there really isn't much to sink your teeth into in terms of actually analysing a film, but this was fun to watch. Compared to the others, this is the best picture. This week, I'd just like to thank Sound. Thank you so much for coming along and rescuing us from silent pictures. The era of the talkies is officially here, and I'm very happy. And as always, I'd like to thank you for watching. Stay safe, and see you next time.